right, good afternoon. Very cozy crowd today. So we're at part 10 of applications of NLP. I'm assuming the last part, given that we've covered most of the basics when it comes to NLP. Perhaps in the future we'll look at an advanced part also, which looks at things like timelines and more of the what's called new code NLP. So there was NLP as Richard Bandler and John Grinder propounded it in the 70s and 80s, and what's coming up now is what is termed as new code NLP. So new code is primarily capturing advanced techniques that have come up in the last few years. So after Bandler and Grinder introduced NLP to the world, there have been several people who've taken it up and developed new techniques, applied it in various areas of life. Initially, it was purely in the area of conversational hypnosis and healing and transformation. Now there are various applications that have been found in the last few years. So that's called new code NLP. So perhaps we could explore that in a future series. But for now, the sanctuary pattern that we will speak about today is one of the earliest revolutions of the new code. So it's something that we'll explore today. Okay, so we've just to quickly recapture what we've done in terms of all the basic applications of NLP. We started with pacing, leading. We looked at representational systems, which is primarily all our sense organs and the submodalities that they bring in, and how NLP uses these submodalities in various processes. The premise is that any memory, any belief, any blocks or facilitators, as the case may be, within us are anchored in any of these submodalities. So if I'm talking of even a simple belief like I like ice cream, that belief is also anchored against something. So in my case, for example, I like ice cream could be anchored against the sensory modality of taste. Okay, so and taste specifically of a certain texture, of a certain kind of taste, for example, sweetness in this context, right? So if I want to shift that belief for whatever reason, if I believe that the belief that I like ice cream is unresourceful for me, it has stopped being helpful for me, I can shift that belief by simply playing around with the submodalities. So I can think about ice cream and then shift around the submodality in terms of removing the sweetness aspect of it, removing the texture part of it. And in my mind, because I shift around the submodality, I'll unhook from the belief that I like ice cream. Now, I don't have to, of course, replace it with something opposite, but I can just unhook from it. So then I'm freer to take on another belief or just leave it at that, right? So that's the representation system, and that's the premise that works with most patterns or techniques of NLP that we've explored over the last few weeks. So we spoke about various patterns like swish pattern, reframing, fast phobia cure, collapsing anchors. All of these are what are called patterns of NLP. They help us switch from unresourceful states to resourceful states. We also explored the language aspect of NLP. So in the conversational sense of the term, NLP can be used very easily using meta models, using the Milton model, using metaphors, which come in very handy in a regular day-to-day conversation. The person that you're applying NLP on doesn't have to know that there is a process going on. It could be absolutely conversational in the regular sense of the term. All you need to do is to make sure you're pacing and leading in that process. So today, the last part that we are talking about is as an introduction to new code NLP through the sanctuary pattern. Now, this is interesting in the sense here we're not looking at healing anything, shifting anything. Like a lot of the earlier patterns that we spoke about were useful in the context of bringing about a particular kind of transformation. Here we're not looking at any specific transformation, but something that can help us firstly strengthen our intuition, right? Strengthen our gut feel as we practice it more and more. And secondly, it's also a useful technique in the context of people who do a lot of healing, or I mean, it could be alternative healers, medical professionals, anybody who's dealing with what we might call environmental negativity, and therefore you tend to sometimes take on the negativity either physically or emotionally, and this pattern can help you distance yourself from that negativity. So it's a protective kind of a technique in a way. So the technique in itself is very simple, but the strength of the sanctuary pattern lies in practice. Unlike all the other earlier techniques that we discussed, anything like reframing or metaphors or fast phobia cure needs to be done just once, and if you've done it right the first time, you don't need to repeat any of those patterns. It's effective immediately. With sanctuary pattern, while it is effective immediately, it helps to build it so as to enhance the intuition that comes with it. Right? So because one of the primary purposes of using the sanctuary pattern is enhancing intuition, so that you're very aware when you're entering an unresourceful environment and you're protected against it, or you raise your own shields, so to say. So the pattern in itself is just these 4 steps, so it's going to be a very quick discussion today. So first step we do with the sanctuary pattern is to spatially anchor into a resourceful state. So it's about whatever you believe is a state of rejuvenation, a state of recreation for you. And it could be different things for different people. For some of us it could be meditation, if you're in the habit of meditating. For some of us it could be playing a certain sport, going for a morning run. It could be singing, reading, listening to music, watching a particular movie, anything that puts you in an absolute state of relaxation and fun. That's the state of rejuvenation. So the idea here is to identify that state of rejuvenation, whatever is that activity or space that brings you that, and in an associated manner spatially anchor it. So spatially anchor would mean you find a particular spot in the room, and you could either stand or sit there as the case may be. So if this is my spot, I would walk into that spot and imagine myself engaged in that activity which makes me rejuvenated. So for example, if the activity is about let's say listening to songs of Muhammad Rafi, I would stand here, perhaps close my eyes, it's not necessary, but if it helps to concentrate, stand here and imagine myself listening to those songs, because that brings me joy and that brings me relaxation. Now it might take me a couple of minutes for me to be completely anchored into this space. I can stand or sit, whichever way is comfortable. If possible, if you're dealing with an activity such as music, you might actually want to play it in the background for that enhanced effect. If it's another kind of an activity, like let's say trekking or watching a sunrise, then I can just stand here and imagine that activity or that exercise happening. So you find a spatial anchor and stand there for a couple of minutes and completely imagine that activity or that exercise happening. Now this space or that spatial anchor is the sanctuary, in the sense that this is an area where I am relaxed, I feel very safe and secure, I feel protected, and I'm in a space of enjoyment. It's a resourceful state, right? So we anchor this state. You might also, we've discussed anchors over a period of time, so you can also add other anchors to it. So when I'm in this state of joy, I might also add a physical anchor and let's say tap a certain spot just to enhance the effect of that space. Not necessary, but you can always add anchors here. So that's the step 1. It needs to be done for a couple of minutes for you to completely anchor into that spot, that sanctuary. The next step is to shift the spot, which means you come out of that spot and then you disassociate. So the first step is done in an associated manner. Associated would mean that I am there and I am imagining myself engaged in this task. I am here and I am imagining myself listening to these songs. That's association. Now as I move out of the spot, now I disassociate. Disassociation would mean that I look at me, or I imagine me looking at myself. Right? So I'm here, I'm standing here, and I'm also seeing myself someplace else. So you shift the spot and you disassociate and look at a distant spot. Don't bring it too close because you're trying to deal with a situation that entails negativity or unresourceful environment. So you don't want to physically disturb yourself at this point in time. So imagine it as distant as you want it to be. If you're in a largish room or a hall kind of a space, or even if you're, let's say, doing it in a garden or a park, you can anchor it in a particular spot. So let's say you can say that, okay, that particular tree that I see is the spot where I'm imagining myself, right? So you can give it a particular spot. So look at a distant spot where you think the situation is playing out, where you're likely to absorb some negativity or low energy. So for example, if I want to shield myself against let's say a visit to a hospital, and I know that I have to visit a certain person in a hospital, and I'm worried about feeling low after visiting. Or it could be the fact that I'm going to have a healing session with a certain patient who's got a disease that's not very comfortable to heal or comfortable to be with. It could be any situation, or it could also be a very unpleasant meeting that you're going to walk into and you know that you're not very comfortable dealing with that person. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a diseased environment, anything that makes you feel uncomfortable and low in energy. So imagine that situation playing out in that distant spot. Okay, so you've disassociated, you're out of your sanctuary and you're standing here and you're imagining yourself looking at that particular situation. So let's say if I'm walking into a meeting where I know there's going to be conflict with this person, so I'm imagining that meeting playing out. So I'm imagining myself walking into the room and there's this person sitting at the table. And what I'm doing as I imagine that particular distant spot is I'm watchful of what's happening to my body. Is my body contracting? Is it giving any signals to say that energies are shifting? Right? I was in a very nice space there in that sanctuary. So now once I'm out and I'm looking at myself there, what's happening to me? Right? And the moment I feel there is some discomfort, and the discomfort appears in different ways in different people. So some of us might feel a contraction in the stomach, some of us might want to really hug ourselves and go back. Sometimes the body literally shifts back, it doesn't want to be here and look at it. Anytime, any moment that you feel even the slightest of shifts in the physical energy, run back to the sanctuary and absorb the energies of the sanctuary, which is that of that rejuvenation that we were talking about. So run back to the sanctuary and imagine yourself listening to that song or going for that jog or praying or whatever it was that was your sanctuary. And rejuvenate yourself completely, feel again completely protected, relaxed and easy, and come out again, disassociate, again look at yourself out there in that distant spot, re-entering that room where that meeting is going to happen. Watch out for the physical shifts. Chances are you will not react as much as you did the previous time because you've re-anchored yourself, you've shifted something within you. So you might feel a little less resistance. If you're feeling any sense of resistance, again go back, recharge, come back out. Okay. If you feel that it's okay to stand here and imagine it, if you're not feeling any major changes in the body, then start pushing yourself a little. Take small, very slow but very small steps towards that particular distant spot. Okay. we're not looking at marching in there. The idea is not really to get there. The idea is to see when does the body start picking up signals. And one of the points of this process is for us to be able to train the body to actually enhance what we call the gut feel. So the body starts picking up energies even before we enter into an environment that's not very healthy for us. So start taking slow steps and be aware of, again, what's happening to the body as you take those steps. Any moment that you feel a sense of discomfort, again, you find yourself constricting, wanting to go back, not wanting to go ahead, run back into the sanctuary, recharge, again, go back into the process. Okay, so while you're here in the sanctuary, you're associated, which means you are imagining yourself doing whatever is that activity that you're doing. And when you're here, you're disassociated, which means you're aware of being here and you're looking at yourself elsewhere. Okay? So step out and do this till the time that you're able to comfortably walk very slowly towards that particular spot that you've identified, and the body is absolutely at ease. Okay, so even as you're walking into a situation where you know it entails conflict or there's low energy or physical discomfort, somewhere the body is now protected enough because it's anchored in the sanctuary. Even as it walks towards a situation that's uncomfortable, the body is able to use the resources which are available in the sanctuary. So what usually happens in a situation where we are facing negativity or discomfort is the body feels very unresourceful. It doesn't feel that it has energy to tackle the situation, and therefore it goes into a space of being constricted. Here what we are doing is we are making the energy of that sanctuary available to the body in that uncomfortable situation. Okay. So those are the steps. It's not really a complex process, very simple. So there are two ways in which we can use this. One is to prepare for a situation where we know it's going to be uncomfortable. So if you're going to be meeting somebody that we don't like, or we know there's going to be conflict, or maybe you have to go to let's say a funeral which is not very comfortable, we can prepare for that particular situation by rooting ourselves into the sanctuary, into a resourceful space. The other thing is we can if you are, let's say, into healing or in a profession where you're counseling, sometimes coaching people, where you know you're likely to pick up negative emotions or low energy, then this is something that you can do as a general practice. It doesn't have to be a particular situation that you're imagining out there in that distant spot. It could be a general activity of any patient walking into your room, or a person who's to be coached walking into the room, and you can imagine any random person and then strengthen your gut feel through the process. Right? So to wrap up, as we said, the point of the exercise is not exactly to walk to that spot. There have been times I've used this pattern on people and they've realized they just can't make themselves go out there. At some point the body wants to come back. It's important to respect that as well. It's again the body giving you a signal that that's not really meant for you. Don't take up that situation if it's avoidable. Right? So if that is so, then trust the body and just head back and do everything that you possibly practically can to either avoid the situation or minimize the situation, whatever is possible in that context. So the idea is not really to get to that spot, but develop involuntary signals. So the more you practice it in a general context, what happens is the body then starts building up involuntary signals. So there are times when you're generally walking around on the road and somewhere the body gives you a signal which it typically gives you when you're about to enter an uncomfortable spot. And sure enough, you will realize that there is something up ahead which is not very comfortable. Either there's an accident on the road or there's something unpleasant which the body is already picked up. because the energy field has become that much more stronger and expanded. So what you're training the body to do in this process is actually extending the energy field and reaching out to what's coming up next even before you're physically there. So the energy field is that much wider and stronger, and it'll start giving you messages in the form of what we call intuition or gut feels. So it's a beautiful process just to build up intuition, even if you have nothing specific to work with here. It just takes you a little bit of space and room, and that's it. You don't have to work with anybody else, or it's not complex process to remember either. All you need to remember is one spot for the sanctuary where you recall that rejuvenating activity, and then just step out and imagine whatever is it that makes you uncomfortable, and then run back to the sanctuary as and when required. Doesn't matter how many times you have to run back. There are some times where the body really wants to keep coming back over and over again. There are sometimes the body anchors itself very well and it's comfortable to walk into that spot depending on what you're doing. Yeah? Keep it pure. Right? So you're completely associated with yourself here. Keep that space pure, because only then will it become a sanctuary. Right? I mean, the whole idea of a sanctuary is like, it's like a fortress. Nobody can, no one can penetrate it. So no bad situation can penetrate this space because it's a protected space. So yes, by all means you can come back here when you want to, but when you're addressing that issue, you should be disassociated and deal with it. The resources are inside you, remember? So even as you step out, the resources are available to you. But don't contaminate the space.
Yeah, what I want to say is that
you will need to step out and face, because here, in a way, you're very guarded. Guarded by yourself, not anybody else, but you're very guarded and protected, right? Now, that's not the way you present yourself out to the real world. Right? You can't always be listening to those songs or meditating or whatever is it that I'm doing here. Right? So it's important that you give the body the message that, listen, I'm going to be out there. I'm not always in this sanctuary. But what I'm training my neurons to do is that even as I'm not in the sanctuary, those resources are available to me regardless. And what you're training the body to do is to pick up those resources in situations where it's not used to picking up those resources. Right? I feel I have the resources to be very happy and relaxed when I'm listening to a certain song. But if my body is not trained to pick up the same resources when I have to deal with that bad meeting, I need to train my body to do that, right? So I can't stay here. But the idea is not to stay in a cocoon. The idea is to go out there, but at the same time access the energy which is available in the cocoon. Yeah. So don't contaminate that space. So this is a purely associated spot. This is a disassociated spot, which means here I am not standing here and imagining that meeting. I am looking at the meeting out there, right? I am not in the meeting. I can see myself there. So this is an associated spot. This is a disassociated space.
when you are
To say, okay, pick up signals. Okay, and as you do more of it, the body will learn to pick up signals sooner. So initially perhaps you will have to wait till you walk into that building for the meeting for the body to start reacting. At some point the body will start reacting much before. So there are times where the body starts reacting just when you're about to pick up that phone call, or you're about to receive a phone call from somebody and the body knows who's going to call.
someone.
Yeah, so it starts picking up in a very beautiful way. So intuition gets built very strongly through the process. So let the sanctuary be as it is and use the sanctuary. Don't contaminate the sanctuary.